delighted to have with us our keynote speaker for the evening, Sanjay Dora. Sanjay is a seasoned professional with over 25 years of extensive experience in setting up and managing large-scale multi-geography global capability centers, BPO setups in India and Philippines, with excellent track record of managing P&L with high-performance team networks in dynamic, multicultural, matrix, and competitive environments. Sanjay has worked with a range of MNCs, including American Express, Citigroup, IBM, ANZ Bank, and Telstra. By qualification, he is a chartered accountant and cost accountant. Sanjay has also served on the board of various corporate entities. He has also been on the advising boards of academia and startups. He is passionate about emerging technologies and leading teams and creating a culture that inspires people to be at their very best. Please welcome Sanjay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sanjay, we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And good evening once again. And absolutely my pleasure to be here in this forum. That it's mind-blowing looking at some of the numbers that Sudha and Ram, you were sharing in terms of the impact that you are making, and really heartwarming to see the impact you are having on the lives of the bright kids and their families. And I personally see education as a sector which makes up the economy, makes up the lives of people. And when I look at the economy today and the country today, I think people talk about issue of unemployment. I think the bigger issue to me sometimes seems like employability, right? It is not just about getting any job. It is about getting a job which does justice to your caliber, to your competency, and to your potential. And that's where I think Foundation for Excellence is doing phenomenal work. So thank you so much for that. Like many of you, I also come from a very humble background. My father actually worked and retired as a peon with the government company. So you can imagine, and there were 4 kids he had to manage. So you can imagine the struggle he had to go through to get food on the table and the make ends meet. And it's been a remarkable journey and I was actually fortunate to be the youngest of the siblings. So if you are the youngest in the family, you get some extra privileges. So I managed to get good education in school and college, and then really kick-started my career. And today, I think it's about 25, 30 years of my career. In my last job, I was the India country operations leader for Telstra, which is the largest telecom company in Australia, and fortunate to be part of the industry which is blossoming in India for last 20, 30 years. I'm part of industry which is called as Global Capability Centers, the GCC industry. So for example, if you're Google and you want to tap into the talent and capabilities of India, either you outsource your work to the third-party service providers or you come and set up your own captive. So if you are a captive, then it is called the Global Capability Center. Otherwise, you're part of the outsourcing industry. So I have been in this industry, you call it a offshoring or a outsourcing industry for last 25 to 30 years, and had tremendous learnings as I have grown in my career. And I often reflect also on what kicked for me, right? What is it that worked for me, especially in the early stages when I was studying and when I started my career. I think it's the sacrifices of my family and others around me, which I think made me very determined and focused to do really well in life. And that's where I started my journey. And as I moved on, as I said, I learned from my experience, I learned from others' experience as well. And I thought, whatever, I think 10 minutes we have today, I can share some of those learnings and some of the messages that I wanted to pass on to, especially to all the students. I think the first one, which is really vital, is having a vision, being very clear about what do you want to do in life. And once you decide that, because if you don't know where to go, any road will take you there, right? And it's not about where you would be, it is about where you want to be or where you could be, right? And I think that's really, really important. And once you decide what you want to do, once you are clear about what you want to do, nothing should stop you, right? You have to be relentless, you have to be ruthless, and you have to pull out all the stops. You just have to make it happen. That's what I think really, really vital as a first step if you want to do well in your careers. The second one I would say is, and this is something I have learned over time in my career, and you would hear from a lot of corporate executives, is the value of integrity, value of honesty. And integrity to me is basically being rather uncompromising adherence to the very high moral standards or ethics, and really, really vital as you look at that, because it's like doing the right thing when nobody is watching. That's a real definition of integrity and honesty. And I feel sooner you ingrain it in your character, sooner you imbibe in your character, better it is, because the price you pay later part of your life can be very heavy and very embarrassing if you're really, really not honest. So make it an integral part, make it an uncompromising part of your personality as you start your journeys into the corporate world. The third one I would say is, and this is something which is very close to my heart, is being curious, right? It's really, really important. And especially when you do well as a student or maybe in the corporate world, we try to look smart. A lot of people look up to us and we pretend we know everything. That should not be the case at all. In fact, that's the fixed mindset. The growth mindset is being very open about learning. And sometimes people believe that smartness or the ability is by birth. People are either smart or not smart. I don't think that's the way it is. I think the growth mindset is all about continuously opening yourself to learn new things and not worrying about looking fool, right, when you ask questions. In fact, if you don't ask a question, or rather if you ask a question, you may actually look like a fool at that moment. But if you don't ask a question, you may remain fool for the lifetime. That's how I look at it. So really, really important for all of us to stay curious. I think the child within us should never die, right? The children, when you interact with them, they're never afraid of asking questions, right? They're never afraid of looking fools. They will just keep throwing you with questions and questions and questions. I think that's the mindset we should keep throughout in our life. Really, really vital that we stick to that. The other one I would say is being bold. And it's really, really important that being courageous, being bold really takes you a long way in your career. And I often also keep reflecting on what is it that holds people back, because I also have been holding back myself, right? And a lot of times I think it is your own belief, it is your own self-doubt which comes between what you want to achieve and where you are today. I think that's the only thing which really holds us back. So really important that we are bold, we are brave, and we take chances. In fact, not taking risk is the biggest risk all of us can take in our lives. And a lot of times, I think as we grow, we sometimes kick ourselves we beat ourselves too hard for making some wrong decisions. We lament the choices that we make. We sometimes really beat ourselves for the horrible decisions we make. But just remember that that's what life is. Life is all about that. Life can never be lived backwards. Life can only be lived forward. And nobody's graph is always a line which is going up. Everybody has ups and downs. Anybody you talk to has gone through their big share of failures before they really, really become successful. And in fact, when I reflect on my own experience, to be honest, failure has taught me much, much more than success. In fact, I see failure not as opposite of success. I see failure as part of success. I see failure as a stepping stone to success. So don't be afraid of failure. And you will not have a choice, I think, of not failing. I think there would be many occasions in life, in your careers, when you would fail. Just embrace it, just celebrate it. And at times, we may not be very comfortable opening up to others about our failures, but within yourself, within your own self-conscious, accept those failures as a way of learning, rather than kicking yourself for doing things wrong, because that's the way the life is, as I said. And smart people actually learn from their mistakes, and smarter people learn from others' mistakes. So just look around, see how other people are also doing. So I think that's really, really important. The other one, Dr. Goyal was also talking about the power of networking. Right? I was actually so naive. I would say I was fooled in some early part of my career, and I had a big poster behind my desk which used to say, "I am my own inspiration." But I think that's not the right way to look at life. I think there's so much to learn from others. There's so much help you can get from others. And look at people who really inspire you. Look at people around you who you admire. and look at people around you who you think can be your role models. Reach out to them, talk to them, understand their experiences, talk to them about the decision that you are making. If you are in a dilemma, bounce it off to them, take their advice. I think really, really important, because we by ourselves cannot succeed. And just remember, when we talk about success, it is not just about your talent, right? It is a talent and the right opportunity. Being at the right place at the right time is so important. And that opens up the multiple windows of opportunities for you. So really important that you figure out people around you who can help you, handhold you, who can share their experiences, who you can really open up to, really vital. And I think also the power of networking, especially in a corporate world, when you look at the opportunities you get, I don't think without having a breadth of networking, you can achieve that. Really important. And as I was talking about taking advice from others, you take advice from others, but do what your heart says. And I'm going to say something controversial here. When you take advice from others, people are telling you based on their limited perspective, based on their limited experience, while you may have infinite possibilities in front of you. So take it with listen to everybody, take advice, but then evaluate it. And sometimes you have to discard what you hear. Sometimes you have to do what you really think makes sense. Important that you hear everybody, but more important, you do what you feel is right as you really move forward in your lives. And the last one I would say is the power of communication. Again, Dr. Goyal was also talking about that. There have been number of researches which have proven that about 70 to 80% of a person's success depends upon how well they communicate, how well they articulate. You may be great, you may be a great product, but unless the world sees you, unless you really market yourself, unless you really go out and talk about who you are, so think about how you want to really brand yourself as well, right? What is your unique selling proposition? What are the unique strengths you bring to the table, right? If you look at your peers, what is different in you than others, right? So really important that you understand who you are, what unique strengths and skill sets that you bring to the table, and then develop some sort of a personal branding around it. Really, really important to do that one. And I would also say focus on grooming, really important, because people make the first impression within few minutes of talking. I mean, that's the reality of life, you like it or not. And really important that you really look after yourself, groom yourself well, and then leave the initial and the lasting impression on the person that you are making. So that's important. And I think that lastly, I would like to say, it's important while all these things are there, but what really, really matters is your happiness in life. So lead a very balanced lifestyle. Look after your health, look after your relationships, of course, your studies, everything is important. And I feel all of us have enormous potential. As I was saying earlier, just you need to keep your eyes and ears open, look for opportunities, and sometimes you have to create opportunities and unlock them. And then I believe you are creator of your own destiny, because all the answers typically lie within us, right? Sometimes we search for answers elsewhere, but I think all we need to do is at times hold the mirror in front of us, and all the answers we find within us only. So again, one last message, as I said, what matters is really how happy you are. So really look after yourself. And one last piece of advice is do not look up to others when it comes to your happiness, because if you place the onus of your happiness on others, other than anybody other than yourself, that's a recipe for misery. And at the same time, don't have to please everybody, right? You don't need everybody to like you as well. Sometimes you have to make the decisions as you feel are right. So those are some of the messages, some of the learnings I think which have been there with me, which I thought may be helpful to you guys. Just a short forum we have, but I would love, as the world is opening up for more offline interactions, I would love to also maybe interact face to face as well as and when the opportunity presents. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.